Hi everyone, welcome to the session. Thank you for joining in. This is the seventh session that we have, and it's a panel discussion as part of the stage two that we have for design marketing. It's called the art of storytelling, and I'll just quickly introduce the panel and the moderator. But just talking a little about the topic first. It takes a lot of practice and skill to master the art of storytelling, as we all know. But it's definitely a worthwhile pursuit, as it can be a very rewarding experience both for the storyteller and the audience. So let's dive deeper into the art of storytelling with today's panel. We have Imran Shamsi, who's the founder and director at What Works, and Rees Gargi, who's the CEO at What a Story. Over to you, Anshul.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Tanya. Super pumped to be with Imran and Rees. I'm legit and unapologetically going around saying I've got the best panel, and I really have. Guys, this has been so nice. Jumping quickly to the business because we are a little tight on time, and I want to sort of get the maximum out of this session. I'll first begin with you, Rees. My first question to you is, what do you mean by storytelling in design, and why is there so much hype around it?
You see, as a UX designer, or most importantly, if you're trying to solve a problem, you must understand for whom you are solving that problem, right? You have to understand the person you are trying to solve the problem. And in traditional storytelling, what we do, we take a character, we create a plot, we create conflicts, we create obstacles for that character, and in the
Right,
end, we either have a hero or we have a tragic ending. Normally a
right,
story goes like that. But when we are using design, when you are like creating a story for someone, if you have a product, you want to create a story around that product, or that brand, you have a brand, you have to create a story around that brand, then you have to understand the people who are going to use that product or that brand, right? You have to understand the problem they are facing. And in traditional storytelling, what we do is we create a character, right? In when we are creating
right,
storytelling in for design, we put the character, the audience, the people who are facing the problem, that are our main character. So we revolve the entire story around that. We have a product,
right,
and the person who is going to use it or who is going to get their problem solved, they are the main character of that storytelling process. So this is very important when we are talking about products and brands, because they are the people, they are going to use it, and they should feel involved, they should feel that this is about them. That's why it's very important, that storytelling in design. And that's why I don't think there's much hype about it. There should
right,
be more hype about it than it is already there. So
right, right. Great. Pushing the same question to you, Imran. I would like to understand what's your take on storytelling and design, and of course, the hype. Not so much, according to Reese, but yeah, what is it still about?
So I think, firstly, whatever hype is there is justified, and yet it could be more.
Right.
I feel that it's this basically. It's about, for me, it's about bringing emotion and feelings into design. You know,
Correct.
uh, and design is not only about aesthetics. It's supposed to communicate feelings. And make you
Right.
feel something. It should trigger something in you. It should maybe make you urge to get something, to buy something, to do something, to act. And that
Right.
is why it's super important. People, nothing works better than emotions. If I have you emotionally hooked, then I can make you do anything. And that
Right.
is why it's so important to have storytelling in design and in everything else, in business as well.
Amazing, amazing. Picking up from there, Imran, uh, do you think storytelling can promote engagement and create an interactive experience all over? And if yes, then how?
So absolutely, I think stories trigger emotions. And as I was saying, like, they help us experience things before we actually experience them. So you can
Right,
experience love before you actually experience love. You can experience a breakup before you actually experience a breakup. You can
right,
experience, going into a galaxy far, far away, without actually going out of your house. And
right,
that is why stories can promote engagement. You engage with such shit, because it actually brings you closer to wherever you want to be in that moment because of what the trigger was. So
right, right,
and that is why it's interactive. People can relate to it. They want, And honestly, I feel, like once you put storytelling in your work, you'll have a longer term relationship with your customer. They will always come back to you for the story more than anything else. And story trumps logic sometimes.
Correct. Aligned, aligned. Reese, the storyteller that you are, how have you been sort of promoting engagement and creating an interactive experience for your audiences?
Same way everyone does. We have a story and we want to tell that to the entire world. Doesn't matter what we are talking about, doesn't matter how we are talking about the medium, nothing else matters. What matters is the story. If you have a clear goal, for example, like Imran said, that story goes a long way, right? If you have a
Right,
clear goal, that's the most important part. You have to drive your audience, you have to drive the people who are listening to you towards that goal, that particular goal. An unclear
right,
story is a bad story. And yes,
right.
a good story, it creates emotions, it connects, it creates empathy. And अगर empathy engagement नहीं बढ़ाएगी तो क्या बढ़ाएगा भाई, right?
Correct.
So it's very important. We have a goal, we are going towards that goal, and it's connecting to the right people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. That brings me to my next question for you, Reese. What are some of the best practices that you have been following for brand storytelling, especially in the work that you have done? We would love to also hear about an experience.
Okay, so in my work I create explainer videos for SaaS companies, product
Right,
companies, and what we do is we listen, we understand what they want, we understand their audience, we find the gaps they are not getting connected with their audience, and we
right,
fill that gap. We understand the we put ourselves in the shoes of their audience, we have put ourselves self in the shoes of the company we are creating videos for, and we
correct,
understand the gap. So the best practice is, I'd say, just relate the problem to the audience. Let the audience know that this is your problem, this needs to
okay,
be solved. For
right,
example, let's say when Steve Jobs, when he introduced iPod, have you seen the video how he introduces the iPod? He's not talking about the specs, that this is like a 5 GB
right,
hardware, this is not like do this or do that, it's not very sleek. He's not talking about that. He started with the problem that you cannot take 1,000 songs with you when you're traveling, right? You have a
right,
MP3 player, you have a Walkman, and you have a cassette. You have like
right,
10 songs. So he directly addresses that problem, that we have created something that can help you listen to your favorite songs anytime, thousands of songs. So he
right,
understood the problem people are facing, he created a product, he connect both, he bridges the
right,
gap.
right.
That's the best practice, that's the best thing you can do when you're solving problem for people in storytelling, with storytelling.
Great, great. Makes a lot of sense. Anything in particular that Reese would have done with for the slash clients that he has? Anything of this kind?
Yeah, we do this like every month, every week.
Hmm.
And even I was doing like 15 minutes before joining this video, I was with a client and I had to
Right,
wrap up that meeting. And
right,
they have a product and they are trying to reach, people who will use the product. And they were not clear about the, how we can communicate that problem. So
right,
simply what we do is we understand the users who are going to use that product,
right,
right? If I am that person, if I am this person who need this SaaS, who need this software,
right,
then what are the problems I am facing, and what are the solution this thing is doing for me? And we create a story around it, we create a character, we create a plot. And this character, as I said, is the person who is watching the video,
got it.
that
Yeah,
person that can relate, that this person is me, and this is my problem, and I need this now. And
right,
why we tell stories, right? We want to inspire action, and that
correct.
thing inspire action, that things connect with people, and that story that tells that you need this, and that's how thing works.
Amazing, amazing. Shooting the same question to you, Imran. What, according to you, is the best practice in brand storytelling? And we would, of course, love to hear about what has been your experience with it.
I think exactly like Reese said, hit the nail on the head when it's about empathy, right?
Right,
If you want somebody to listen to you, you have to listen to them. It is
right,
as simple as that. If people feel heard, they are happy to listen to you. So
right,
So what we also do is, say if our client is the Man Company, with which for whom we've done a few campaigns, so we essentially start finding out about conversations that men are having, and men
Right.
within the TG, and we start finding out right from their YouTube comments, like we are those creeps who read YouTube comments, for research, and we'll
Right.
like actually go ahead and speak to our friends, what are their concerns about masculinity, what are the things that they faced in their lives, and also we draw from our own experiences as men, or as their TG. So ultimately it's about delving deeper into who we are addressing, understanding them better, and essentially narrating or constructing a storyline that talks to them in their language about the issues that bother them,
Right.
and that becomes extremely important.
You're right. Amazing. Makes sense. Great. Imran, I will like to hold on to you for some more time with my next question, and that would be around words or images. What do you think is most effective tool
I
of
think
storytelling?
I think it's definitely images with a few
Right.
words, you know.
Right.
So it's a combination, They say a picture is
Right.
worth 1,000 words, but a
Right.
few words below that picture can change the whole context of that picture, can give it a whole new meaning, can help you or force you to drive action, If you just see
Right.
a picture of, say, a child, maybe you will not feel anything because you've seen enough pictures, but what's written
Correct.
below it also matters, it puts that entire thing in perspective, and gives you a reason that, like that, why is this picture being shown to you,
Correct.
it gives it
Correct.
context, essentially.
And I think with a little text, like you said, also eliminates the scope of, misinterpretation and misrepresentation sometimes. And I think that goes a long way. You're right. Reese, I know you would say, why isn't video a category in this? So words,
No,
picture.
actually,
But what's your
uh,
take?
I can relate to Imran. When I was a child, I go to buy, books, comics. Why we
Right.
purchased comics as a kids? Why we buy books? And agar book mein if there is no illustration, I would not buy that book.
Same
I
here.
Correct.
needed illustration to relate to that story I'm reading and an image. But now I've been working in an industry where we are creating videos like every day. We are creating stories. We are talking about it. We are
Right.
reaching out to people, solving problems. So
Right.
I have a different take on these words or images. I would say neither, or maybe it's either. Like I love watching I love watching Charlie Chaplin movies because great storytelling. He
Correct.
faces an obstacle, an issue, a comedic tragedy, and how the story walks him through the hoops, making us, the audience laugh or sometimes cry. Words are
Right.
important and images are important, but it all depends on audience. Do you love Harry Potter?
I do. Oh God, I do. I'm a
you know
Potter.
uh,
Imran, what about
you
you?
I'm okay about it. My girlfriend loves it, but I'm not too much into it.
Gryffindor or Slytherin?
Gryffindor.
Okay, I'm a Hufflepuff. I love hugs.
Oh, great.
So does it matter if you like the books or you like the movies? Does it matter much? There is a beautiful
Honestly,
story.
not to me. Yeah.
Right, it doesn't matter how you read the story or how you watch the story reached
Right.
you. That's what matters. That's the
Right.
main thing that matters. Story reached you. So if
Right.
it's reaching you through images, great. If it's reaching you through text or video, great. It must reach
Right.
you. That's the entire point of storytelling, right?
Lovely, lovely, lovely. That has been very, very insightful, Reese, and I think I like the neither and either approach. Also, I think yeah, it's nice to not pick one. The next question is somehow a little more deep seated. I would like to understand if a clear understanding of the psychology behind storytelling exists in organizations that are in this business. Because, like you said, a lot of people understand what works, what doesn't work. But has there been like a deep research that goes into it? Have people really understood the fundamentals and the psychology that lies at every stage of this process? Reese, how about you take it first and then we can move on to Imran for this?
I'll start with an old saying. There's an I think
Right,
Benjamin Franklin said this. I don't remember that. Tell me and I will forget. Teach me and I might remember, and involve me and I will learn. So before I talk about this quotation, what I'll say that the philosophy, the psychology, that how what the storytelling technique that works best or what doesn't work is as simple as day and night.
Right.
You are a storyteller, you are telling a story,
Right.
you have a context, and you're
Right.
building a plot around it, and it
Right.
works because it connects, it's create empathy, it's all we talk about.
Right.
And when we talk about the quote again, that if you involve people, the best technique that have worked for me for years
Right.
and years, that have
Right.
worked for Imran, I am pretty sure that have worked for all the storytellers, is that you involve people into it,
Right.
right? Storytelling that involves people on an emotional level. And what is the best way to involve them? By talking about them,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's not rocket science. If it was, it will be boring. I've seen thousands of explainers, and one thing I learned is that product videos that get success is when they talk about their people, they talk about their consumers, the
Right.
problem they are having. People
Right.
don't care about your brand or your product. When the product or brand, they're talking about only themselves, nobody cares, nobody give a shit, because they only care about what you can do for them.
Correct.
If you see example like I like some great ad videos, I've seen Imran videos, and I can see how these videos work because they are talking about these people, they are talking about the solution. That's
Right.
what we try to do.
Right.
That works for me.
Makes Makes a lot of sense. Great. Imran, yes, coming to you. What do you think is the psychology behind storytelling, especially when we talk about brands? How has it changed it for them, and what do you think is going to change going forward also?
So I think stories shape our thoughts and they shape us. People say that people can shape stories, but no, stories shape people. I am
Right.
what I am the stories I've heard before.
Right.
And the stories that stuck to, and the stories that stuck with me.
Right.
So it becomes extremely important for a brand to tell the right story. Now, again,
Right.
this story should be familiar to the people you're telling the story. In a way, they should find it familiar or relatable to some extent. If they're not finding it relatable or familiar, then they won't care beyond a point. Even you can make Avatar or you can make Star Wars, but the underlying emotion is something that you connect with. It's a father and
Right.
son story. Like Star Wars is a father and son story at the end of the day. There's so
Correct.
many stories but it's in the garb of novelty. So
Right.
that's why it stood out, because it's fresh. So I feel you have to churn out relatable emotions in fresh clothes. And that
Right.
is what makes a good story. You present it in a better way. It's like like the soul of it is still the same, but the dressing of it is different. And that is why people will catch on to it. If it's still the same story in the same format, nobody's going to see it, nobody's going to watch your ad. You have
Agree.
to talk about what they are saying, but in a way that's fresh, that they've not seen before in some other or the other way.
Right, 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 right. Amazing, Imran. That leaves me with the last question from my side. Of course, we will have a nice Q&A session picking up questions from the audience. But my last question to you, Imran, here would be, if there's a new budding storyteller who's starting out, and if you have to sort of suggest two to three, whatever, at the top of your head, few elements that somebody should keep in mind when they're starting out their journey as a storyteller, what would those things be?
So more than the elements, also I'll come to the elements, but more than that,
Right,
I would
right,
say that think about the stories that come to your mind at that moment. Okay, there's
right,
a reason you still remember those stories from your childhood, because they were good
right,
stories. अगर वो बेकार stories होती, you would have forgotten them. The
right,
reason why you remember those moments like from your childhood, college days, whatever. So you have to understand who you are and
right,
what is the unique thing that you're bringing to the table. That is the first thing. So that
right,
goes into the point that I'm trying to make, which is authenticity. Stay true to
right,
who you are. So that's important when telling a story. Like tomorrow, if
right,
I'm telling a story, I have to feel it. It has to, at least in the beginning. Later, I can be, like a master at it, and okay, I know all the tools, I know the craft of storytelling later. So then I can tell all kinds of stories. But initially, when I'm starting out, I need to tell
right,
stories that are closer to me, that only I could have possibly experienced, or that have stuck with me. And that becomes very important. So I
right,
would say that authenticity is important. Be authentic to who you are. Okay, that is one. Second
yeah,
is empathy. You have to understand who you are telling this story for. If I'm
correct,
meeting my parents and their friends, I'll tell different kind of stories. And if I'm in a party with my friends, I'm going to tell different kind of stories. And if I'm talking to a stranger, maybe I'm going to tell different kind of stories. So you have to understand who your audience is. So empathy
right,
becomes important. Then
right,
relatability is important. because if nobody can find moments of familiarity in it, then what's the point? After a point, they'll disconnect. They'll listen to you for a bit, and after a point, then they'll go. Then this
Right.
consistency also, I feel, like you have to consistently find good stories to tell, find how you're going to present them,
Right.
and the X factor, which is, like, in some cases it's humor. Like in my case, I feel humor does a lot to stories. you know
Right.
uh, even if you see, like films which have a tragic scene, it ends with a humorous scene because it just keeps you going. It lifts you up and takes you, someplace else, which is a nicer, happier place. So these are the things,
Right.
according to me, that work in storytelling.
Amazing, amazing. Reese, would love to hear about, what would your advice be for someone who's just starting out their storytelling journey? What do you think should they keep in mind, especially the elements or any other thing that you think might be important for them?
Yes, I'll say I'll totally go with Imran with this. The first thing I will say to a budding storyteller is that be authentic, be real, be honest. If you're not honest, if you're not real, you're not authentic with the craft you are doing, you will not create that the second part of the storytelling. You cannot
Right.
reach there. You have to be vulnerable. When you are vulnerable, you are giving a point of relatability to the audience. They know
Right.
that you made a mistake. They know that you are not perfect, and they can relate with you. That's how you
Right.
connect with them. That's how a
Absolutely.
bond is formed in relationships, in any relationship, professional or personal. You have to
Right.
get close. You have to open yourself up. You have to be real, honest. And what is real? Perfection is not real. Imperfection is real, right? So
Right.
and the other thing I can say, you have to create a personality of that storytelling. You are doing a story, you have to give a character. You have to
Right.
build tension, you have to create certain plot lines. That's all technical, but the crux is you have to go with the flow. Be authentic,
Amazing.
be real, be vulnerable, be just tell it, just
Right.
say it.
Right, amazing. Well, that inspires me quite a lot to become a storyteller, guys. So I'm sure the audience must be equally excited. The stage is now open to the Q&A from the audience, Reese and Imran. We'll
I
just
think
take a minute here.
somebody in the comment box is asking for examples. So I'll give a few examples of
Yeah,
storytelling. So we did a campaign for this film called Fan. This film was,
right,
with Shah Rukh Khan, and we were supposed to do this massive campaign for the film. Uh,
right,
so initially we thought that, okay, we are going to get a chance to work with Shah Rukh, and it will be so much fun, and we wanted to do
right,
that. But later, when we were thinking a little more about it, we thought that the movie is about fans. It's not
right.
about, it's called Fans, for God's sake. It's not called The Star. It's called The
Great,
Fan. So we thought that instead of having Shah Rukh in the videos, let us make all these videos around fans. So we are
right,
thinking again about those people. The love of fans, and how these are ordinary people with an extraordinary love. And
right.
we wanted to bring that out, and we wanted to show them in that kind of light.
Absolutely.
And that's what actually happened when we made these. We made 5 documentaries on Shah Rukh Khan's fans, and Shah Rukh
Wow.
was in none of them. And people would have called us crazy that you're promoting a Shah Rukh Khan film without having Shah Rukh Khan in the film.
Right,
And then, but the campaign was such a huge success that the film trended like worldwide on Twitter, like 3 months before the release of the actual film.
right.
So it was because we gave the love right back to the people. We were
Amazing.
it was all rooted in empathy. Again, most of our campaigns are rooted in empathy and trying to
Right.
make the ordinary person look extraordinary, because we all
Amazing.
are in some way or the other.
Yeah, and this is absolutely, I think, the best example that we could have thought of, especially in a situation like this where we could have absolutely harped over just one personality and going on. Got it. Amazing. Reese, would you also sort of want to quote an example, or we can just jump to a Q&A? Your call.
I think we only have 5 minutes. Let's
Let's jump to
wrap it
the
up.
Q&A.
Yes.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. So the first question is from Manan, and Manan asks, how do you introduce stories seamlessly into presentations? Do you think it's helpful to frame it with, let me tell you a brief story, so they lean in to hear the story, or should there be another way to get started?
The general way normally things work, when you are telling a story, when you are, something starting, you do a hook.
Okay.
Now some people like it, some people don't like it, but by hook I mean you have to, give something, instant
Right.
gratification as we call it. Give
Right.
something, and when they are interested in you, you just reel in, you just tell
Right.
your story, you just connect with them, but first you have to do a hook. So I'd
Right.
say, rather than saying that let me tell you a brief story, you start with a hook, say something more interesting, like I know you're struggling with this, or say that these people, they are not going to get this, something that, connect with the people for whom you are telling the story. Start with that.
Right. 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 Amazing. Perfectly makes sense. Imran, would you like to add something here?
So I think hook is extremely crucial,
Right.
like not only hook and cliffhangers are also very important in our work. So hooks are important in the
Right.
beginning, cliffhangers are important in the end. So you're hooking them onto something with the promise of something, and if that hook is not satisfied, then it's clickbait. So you have to satisfy
Right.
that hook. You have to ensure that
Right.
that hook is genuine and it's not manufactured to tease people. Because then you'll
Right.
not be honest as a storyteller. Hook
Right.
is basically essentially the most exciting part of your conversation, teasing in the beginning. So essentially that's what keeps people hooked. And then the second thing is the cliffhanger, which is like, okay, you end it at a moment where they want more, which is the reason why we keep binging shit and like have dark circles under our eyes, because we keep waking up and there's always a cliffhanger at the end of every good series that we see. So that
Right.
Right.
becomes extremely important.
Leaves you wanting
And
for more.
Anchal did this very beautifully in the starting of this, panel. She said that I have the best panel.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
was a perfect hook. People
absolutely.
reeled. That was, the good starting of a
Guys, I think
video, very
I
good
would be.
example.
I think so. Then you have validated that I can start off as a storyteller. Then I think I'm good.
Everybody
Yeah,
is a
you will
storyteller.
go. Yeah.
Great. Great. Validation was much needed. Great. One last question, and we'll just quickly go through this. I would request the panel to sort of, just sort of, we need to wind up another 2 minutes. So I'm sorry to sort of drop this bomb. But how do you utilize storytelling with digital content marketing? Now, this is a question from someone called Prashant. Prashant, sorry. Guys, take on how do you utilize storytelling with digital content marketing?
As in digital marketing, you mean advertisement, or can you clarify what you are going with?
Prashant, would you be able to clarify? Because I think the judges would, sorry, the speakers would need a little bit of clarity. Um, all right. In case we don't have time for that, you can always, and I'm taking this liberty on behalf of Imran and Rees, that you can always sort of write to them
Yes.
via LinkedIn or reach out to them via internet and get in touch with them, follow them. These are some stellar people you must have on your network, and reach out to them, ask them whatever you want to. And yes, I think after all this guidance, everyone who's looking to start somewhere here, this is a good starting point.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Great, no, so fantastic session, guys. Really great insights there, and I love the examples. I love it. Was a super power packed session. So thanks, Imran. Thank you, Rees. Thanks, Anshul, for hosting. You've been a lovely moderator. Thank you to our audiences for asking such fantastic questions. And since this was the last session, you all can kind of move to this first stage for the closing speech, for the closing note. And meanwhile, you all have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful being here.